Okay, so we're going to look at the Greenfoot Paper 2 resources. So if you go to the Google Classroom, you've got the past papers. So you can have a look at this. We're going to look at Unit 2 2022. So again, right click on that, open that in a new tab. You've got the mark schemes as well to look at, so you can actually check your work, check where we've got the right answers in the mark scheme. And then if we go to the actual media, you need to download the media file. So it'll download as a zip file. So once you download that to your home computer, you will then, if I go back to something else just to sort of show you, you'll have a zip file like this, and you can right click and you can extract all. Okay, or obviously that'll already be set up for you in the exam, but you can right click and extract all, and then it'll be there in a folder, and it'll be like this. Okay, so you've been working on your electronic answer booklet. So you can have a little look at what the actual past papers there. You've got the answer booklet where you've been placing your answers in. If I scroll down then to question 5, it says complete your work for question 5 in the Greenfoot environment, and so on and so forth. So remember, when I try to open up anything that's Greenfoot, so if I go to question 7 for example, and I try and open this up, I get this warning message. I'm not allowed to download that Greenfoot that way. So when we come to that, we've always got to open up Greenfoot from the Windows button. Okay, so we're going to go to Greenfoot on the side, and then we're going to open it. So when Greenfoot opens up, okay, then we've got a brand new scenario. So we're going to check then the past paper then to see what this question's all about. So let's scroll all the way down to question 5. Okay, so this question now, we're going to save it as. So what we're looking at here is actually first of all, it says to save it as Leaves World. Well, actually, no, that's not. That's something to do with the background. We're making something for a garden centre, and we're making a little screensaver for them. But if you look at the last part, it says save the completed world as final leaves. So again, good practice maybe would be to make sure that I've saved it and look in the right place exactly as now. So I'll do a brand new. Okay, go back to that. It says final leaves. Okay, so now it'll reopen. So the first thing I need to do is populate the world. So I got to work out in here. It's giving me a leaf folder with some images in. I can see what the images are. Maybe I need to go up to view and extra large so I can see one's going to be for the background and one's actually going to be for the leaf. So I'm going to right click and make and open up the world. I'll make a new subclass first. Sorry, I can't open it up yet. So I'm going to do Leaves World. So this is what it's got on the exam paper for the first question. I'm going to save it as Leaves World here, and it's going to use the cell.jpg, and it's a 9x9 grid. So I can import the picture, find where I've saved it, and then in the images folder I got the cell, and then click on OK. So I compile the world, and you can clearly see it's not a 9x9 grid a minute. It's still in the default 640 by 480. So I need to open up the world now in the editor and then alter that. So I need to change it. So my x coordinates is actually going to be a 9 grid. I want 9 down, so 9x9, and each one of those blocks, those cell blocks, are actually 60 pixels wide. So create a new world. I could even put it by here then, 9x9 cells, 60 pixels. Okay. In fact, I'll put the 60 pixels by there. Okay. That's only a comment, and the examiner's not going to even look at that, but it's just for my benefit. So I'm going to compile it, close that down, and then I've got my 9x9 grid. Right, now I want to. The next part of the exam is to create a new class called Leaves and set the image to leaf. So that's an actor. Create a new subclass. Call it Leaves. Then import from the background. So find the images folder again. And we've got the leaf. and import that in, and then again got to compile it, and then I can right click or do a new leaf. Well, the trouble is I want to do several leaves. It tells me 6 I need, so use the shift key. The best thing to do is use the shift key, put a couple of them in. There we go. So I got 6 of them. That's what it tells me over there. Populate the world with 6 leaves. Well, I need to make sure I save it. Remember, you've got to right click and you have to save the world, and that populates the world then in the prepare method, and it saves it. So it says then, enter code into the leaves class so that the leaves turn and move at random as if it's blowing in the wind. So again, you can use several bits of code to do this. Right, we've got the Greenfoot revision tasks and cheat guide. There's a cheat guide on here that you can have a little look at just to remind ourselves of some of those things that we can get it to move and turn at random. I like to make a little integer and then change it. That's one way to do it. If I go back to that sort of part, that bit as well, there's a nice website to look at, and again this moves slightly differently. This just uses the random number generator each time, so they do the random number generator each time to actually do certain things. So I'll just show you what I do, and then you can have a little you can have a go at doing whichever way you prefer. So I'm going to open up the editor. So remember, it's got to be in the act class. Anything that it does it on the game loop, it's got to be in the act. So I'm going to set up an integer. Okay, I'm going to call it R, and that's going to be a new Greenfoot. Remember, it's capital letter for a class name, so Greenfoot dot. When I get to the dot, I can use Control and Space to use the ID to actually allow me to select some of the options. I can scroll through and see what they do, and it tells me on the side what that actual method does. So one of them is get random number. There it is, and it tells me inclusive and exclusive of the numbers. I prefer doing a number out of 100. Okay, so I know I'm going to get a percentage. So it gives me that. So now I'm going to say if R is maybe less than 20, I want it to do something. And you don't have to, if you're only doing one line of code, you don't have to put curly brackets in, but I prefer just getting used to using those curly brackets. So I press one in there, and I'm going to close it straight away so I know that my code for this if statement is going to go inside there. I use the tab key to tab in, and then I can maybe make it turn. Because it's a board, I want to make sure it turns 90 degrees. Okay, so the full 90 degrees. And then I'm going to do another if statement. So if R is greater than maybe the top 80%, you can change these numbers. It might be 30 and 70%. Okay, that's up to you, and you can see what it's going to look like and play the game and see if you think you're happy with the amount of randomization it's got. So I'm going to change that now to turn minus 90 this time. So it's going to go the opposite way, and then no matter what happens, it's going to move forward one space. Okay, so I'll put the move in there, and I'm going to compile it. Let's see what happens. Got no syntax errors, so I can then run my game, and then they should appear to turn and move at random. It doesn't say when it hits the edge of the screen, but I could maybe get it that if it hits the edge of the screen, it'll bounce back. So I'll just show you that code. So again, I'll put an if statement in, and then again I'm going to use the Control and Space. This time it's part of the act class, so it's just there. I can just scroll down. I can say is at edge, so is at edge, and then I can put my curly brackets in. Okay, and I'm going to put in, if it's there, I'm going to get it to turn 180 degrees. So whatever way it's facing, it's going to face the complete opposite direction. I'm going to get it to move as well. Okay, and then that is it. I'm going to compile it now, and I'm going to get a compiler. I'm going to get an issue with the compiler. It's going to tell me something. Reach the end of the file while passing. Well, that is always, you always get that error if you haven't got enough curly brackets. So you need to make sure, well, okay, I opened up one here for this if statement. I forgot to close it, and you can see that over there with the colors. So I need to make sure I close that. Let's compile it again, and again I get no syntax errors. So if they touch the edge of the screen, then they should bounce a little bit. They should bounce back a bit better. Okay. So now I'll just double check. I've completed all that. I've made sure I saved it as the right name. If you didn't save it as the right name the first time, make sure you now do save it as the correct name. and then I can close my Greenfoot down. I know that's fine, it's saved and it's done. If you want to be doubly sure, you can actually save it or share it as a application, and you can save it as a jar file. Okay, so choose the jar file, and that'll make it in like a sort of exe that the game just plays. Okay, and you can export it in that as well. So go to that folder, and I should be able to see then. Okay, I got the jar file, but I've also got my final leaves but there, which has got my Greenfoot working. Okay, so question 6 then. It says open up the Greenfoot WJEC Tree 6. Right, let's try and open that up. So WJEC Tree 6. Remember, I forgot about that. Remember, when I try to open something, you must go into here and file and open from actual Greenfoot itself. It flashes down the bottom. You need to make it open it up. Okay, so it says open this up, and then it says you need to identify some of these key terms. So it says from the Greenfoot world, identify an example of a superclass. Well, a superclass is one that you inherit from. It's like you inherit your superclass is like your parents, if you like, or guardians, and you inherit some of the properties from them. So in here I can have act, actor, or world. Either one of those would be an acceptable superclass. So in my answer booklet, I'm going to scroll down. So I'm going to type in world. Remember, it's a capital for the class name. That's what it had in the actual in Greenfoot itself. Or actor would be fine. Right, next question on the question paper is a class which inherits from world. Well, there's only one. Okay, the one that inherits from world is called ground. Okay, so I'm on part C already. So part C, a private property. A private property. This is where it gets in, like, encapsulated inside the actual Greenfoot, the Java programming language itself of object orientation. So I need to have a little look at one of those. So I need to try and find something in here that's going to have some form of encapsulation. So I need to find that myself. Right, so the only one that I can find when I've had a little look up here is when you go to the counter itself, it's got a private look. It's got their private static int called total count. That's the variable name. So I need to change. I need to put total count in as my possible answer for that. And then I'm going to go to my last two questions. I need to find a method. Well, there's lots of different methods in here. There's one that's obviously called, I can write this one out, public void act. That's in every single one. That's a method, remember. Remember, this thing up here is a constructor because it's got the class name in there. That's what sets up the class at the start. Okay, when the world's first generated, and it sets up a counter to look with an image of the text on the screen. So that's one of the methods, or I could have had this one down here. This bump count is the other method that's in there. Okay, so part E is when we're looking at here, we're looking for a parameter. Okay, so something that I'm going to change or actually passed in. So remember, a parameter is one that gets passed into a method. So there's one here, int amount. So anything that's passed into any of these brackets. Okay, there's nothing in some of these. They're just void. So I just need amount, don't need the int on there. I could have actually got away with question D with just the act, would have been fine as well. Okay, so you don't have to actually necessarily write the whole thing out, you could just write that. Right, okay, that's questions 5 and 6 of this paper. What I'll do is I'll make another video for question 7 because it's going to take a little bit longer.